It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Leo Laporte here with Jeff Jarvis. Nilay Patel will join us from thisismynext.com. And from O'Reilly Media, Ed Dumbill, we're going to talk about Google+, of course, the Murdoch hearings, and a whole lot more. This Week in Google, coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 104, recorded July 20th, 2011. Nipplefoot. This Week at Google is brought to you by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly, all streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, visit netflix.com/twit. And by Squarespace.com, the fast and easy way to create a high-quality website or blog. For a free trial and 10% off your new account for 6 months, go to Squarespace.com and use the offer code TWIG7. It's time for Twig This Week in Google. Talking about the Google in the cloud and the Googleverse. Joining us, as always, now from his home, not from his office, Jeff Jarvis. Hi, Jeff.
Stayed home today.
Yes. You stayed at home to download OS X Lion.
No, I wanted to hear first from you, Leo, how it is.
Well, I don't know. It's different. We'll talk about it in a bit. Joining us also, Nilay Patel, who has some big announcements to make about what really is his next. Nilay, former editor from Engadget magazine, author at thisismynext.com, and soon to be The Verge.
The Verge. We're very excited about it.
He's on The Verge.
Actually, we had to. I just came from the office because I'm worried that everybody there is downloading Lion, and it would have killed this connection.
I actually love this shot.
I came home to do this.
I love this. You've got the red clock in the corner. You've got the map of Chicago. Did you plan that?
Oh yeah, no. This is my little TWiT set that I have in the corner of our house.
I adore it.
The only thing you can't see is the bar over here, which I can just reach to surreptitiously while the show's on.
I too have a bar in my desk. And it's always a good idea. Also, for the first time joining us, really glad to have him, Ed Dumbill. Ed is from O'Reilly Media. He chairs OSCON, which is O'Reilly's open source convention. Is that next week?
That's next week in Portland. And
wow.
Thanks for having me. It's great to see the cottage before it disappears.
It's kind of the last time.
It's kind of a poignant moment.
Yeah. He's also a big data guy. He is the conference chair of the Strata conference that O'Reilly does, and you'll find him on O'Reilly at radar.o'reilly.com. In fact, one of the reasons you're here, besides the fact that you're so close by, I had to have you come over before it's over. You wrote a great book's length article on Google Plus and why it's not just another Facebook, and we'll talk about that in a bit as well. But as you mentioned, this is the last Twig show from the cottage. We will be moving next door to the red brick house. And yeah, you're waving bye. Bye. On Sunday for TWiT, and then by the time we reconvene this show on Wednesday of next week, all the bugs will be worked out. Okay, we'll see. We shall see.
We'll be coming in on dial-up, I know.
No. You won't believe it. You got to come out, Jeff, and see it. I mean, I have an amazing team. I posted, actually, and I hope, John, you don't mind that I posted your email on Google Plus publicly to 1 million people, do you? No. Okay. John Slanina, who's our studio manager, has been writing daily emails about what happened today in the new studio, and he wrote me one this morning. I got his email, and it was just so cool, with pictures, and these guys are working till midnight and after. And he said, we should be paying you to have this much fun playing with all this new gear. We're getting training and all sorts of stuff. It's really exciting. But anyway, I don't want to go on and on about that, but this is a lot of fun. So I guess we should tip of the hat to the other guys. Apple had a busy day. Actually, yesterday, a very busy day with a big earnings call. Huge amount of profit. They've got $79 billion in the bank.
Yeah, they're doing all right, that Apple. They're not a lot of problems.
No, technology's been very, very good to them. They shipping new MacBook Airs, which looks sweet. The new Mac Minis, which looks sweet. They're killing the plastic MacBook, except for everybody with in education. But most importantly, I think for most of us, they're doing Lion.
You know, I asked them actually about that white plastic MacBook and what they were going to do for back to school, and they're pretty high on the idea that people don't actually need that much storage, and that the 64 gig MacBook Air would be kind of like fine for most people. That most people only really take a handful of pictures, and they only download so much music. I think that's crazy.
Well, once iCloud, I mean, really what it is they're saying you do have data, but you don't have it on your computer, right? I mean, once iCloud comes out, we'll all store it on iCloud.
Right, or on Google Plus or something. I'm trying to stay relevant.
Well, it is relevant. This show is not just Google; it's the cloud, and I think that this is a cloudy operating system. There's no doubt about it.
So they're going to put pressure on Comcast not to cut people off when they upload all their stuff.
Yeah, well, there's that guy in Seattle, isn't there, who he used Carbonite to back up everything. He has 2 roommates, but they're using Netflix. They're using iTunes. He said, he admitted, a little bit of BitTorrent on the side. But the thing that killed him finally was that he uploaded all his music to Amazon's cloud.
Right, and he didn't get that upstream actually counted for his bandwidth limit.
250 gigs he used 1 month, and then the second month and the third month, Comcast said, "You're out. No more internet for you for a year."
Yeah, that's insane, I have to say. That's super crazy.
Well, get ready, because I think this is the war. The war begins now.
Well, it's funny, especially on a Google show. For the longest time, Google would argue that bandwidth, even mobile bandwidth, should be regulated as like an essential utility, which is what Andre, who's the guy in Seattle, that's what he's arguing as well. That's what I would argue. And ever since Google kind of really started promoting Android and being in bed with Verizon, I think that's when a lot of their changes came. Yeah. They've kind of backed off of that. And I think they still make that argument for wired broadband, but they don't make it as emphatically for mobile. And I think mobile is where the real action is going to be. I mean, I have friends here in Brooklyn, and we only have Time Warner for most people here in Brooklyn, and they all want to get LTE modems, but the 5 gig cap kills them. It kills that idea dead. It's because Verizon wants them to clamor for FiOS installations.
Can I be a devil's advocate here?
Right.
Because I agree with you. In fact, I think it's even better than you say, Nilay. It's not even a utility, because water and electricity have to be created, but bits are infinite, do not have to be created. They flow freely without any constraint.
Wow.
It's not it is a bottomless pit. I have a good friend who's our ISP at the new Brick House, SonicNet, and his attitude is, use all you want, we'll make more. He says he agree, and I talked about this with him, because it's my opinion the expense of it, of course, is the switchers, the routers. It's a one-time only capital expense, but at that point, bandwidth is very cheap. And buying more.
Leo.
Yes.
Let me try this on you. Bits are speech.
Yes.
And
they're information fundamentally.
And at some point, we have to come to a view in society that's a right. Not a privilege. And yes, there's an issue of paying for them, same way there is paying for, a newspaper or whatever. But the notion that you could cut somebody off, slow them down such that you cut them off, becomes, in the view of many now, a violation of a human right. And, if you read too much, we're going to stop you?
Yeah. No, good point. But there is economics in this, and this is the point Nilay was making, and I agree that there is economics in it. I don't think the economics are not a big issue in land internet, and absolutely in that case, I think free speech should trump whatever economics there are. But I hate putting myself in this position, but I do, to play devil's advocate. It is
you're
true.
With the devil, Leo, I can tell.
Well, it is true that wireless is a little different, because
for now, but also it's strategically important. If Finland came around and said everyone in the country is going to have broadband wireless tomorrow, because they're going to have a right to have broadband connections, they're going to advance farther and faster than we are, and make up for that Nokia problem.
So who should pay for the fact that Verizon, it's expensive for AT&T and Verizon and so forth to backhaul data to each and every cell site? Because that's what they have to do.
You come back to the argument about interstate highways. And, another model here is that, and this is not going to happen in the current political environment, but the government would pay for this to be done and hire private enterprise to do it, but that the government would then have a role in saying how it operates.
That's okay with me, but you have to have an economic solution because, and this is my only point, is that it's very expensive. It's cheap to get landline data. It's very expensive to get data to these cell sites. You don't just light the dark fiber.
The economics are inverted because the last mile is very expensive for landline. It's very cheap for mobile, right? So there's a balance. I would say, have you read? Have you talked to Tim Wu? He wrote The Master Switch. I mean, he makes these arguments a lot.
Yep.
It's great. Everybody should read it. It's a great book. But instead of saying the government will pay for it, one of the things you can do is say, well, you have a de facto monopoly, right? You're AT&T, so that's fine. We're not going to regulate your monopoly and say you can't have it. But because you do have a monopoly, we can say you have to act according to certain conditions that we set. And that's actually one of the reasons why I'm very cynically in favor of the T-Mobile acquisition. Because once you do have two enormous companies that own 80% of the subscribers, wireless subscribers in the US, the government is empowered to say, well, at this point, the market has failed, right? The free market has failed. Verizon, you're going to buy Sprint. That's your next move. We all know it. Let's cut to the chase. AT&T and Verizon, you have to interoperate, and you have to establish network neutrality, or whatever you want to call it.
Look how well that's worked with the monopoly called cable.
But I think that's actually the real argument, right? Because the cable monopolies have failed the consumer over and over again.
Right.
If you look at your home...
It's time to re-regulate cable. And I agree with you, and regulate the wireless. But it doesn't seem like the direction we're heading.
To truly have competition. The truth.
But I think the question is, where do you want the competition, right? Because you can only have it in so many places. If you have it at the access layer, you have to let the competitors monetize the access layer any way they want, which includes controlling what goes through the pipe. They have to be able to tax the pipe. I think for us, what we want is, I'm a content creator, right? I publish on the internet, so take my bias for what it is. But I want competition at the content layer. I want access to be ubiquitous, cheap, free, good, whatever. And so I can go out there and I can compete against Leo on video, and I can compete against MSNBC on news and all this other stuff, because that's where I think that's where the competition is vital. At the access layer, there's only a handful of companies that will ever be able to effectively compete, and the barriers of entry are so high there that I don't think we need to.
The British model, Nilay. The British model is that
unbundling, right?
There's pipes in, and you have a right to access to those pipes to offer better services.
And the government does the pipes. Who does the infrastructure?
BT does the infrastructure.
British Telecom.
So and that's a government entity.
I'm waiting to go
but
to the
I
chat
think,
room and see what Kevin Marks
it's my
has
friend
correctly.
Chad Mumm, who is our video producer at This Is My Next and SB Nation and The Verge, who went and made that documentary with Rick Carr in England. It was actually on Engadget. It was on PBS. It's really great. You can go watch it. It's all about unbundling and how the British model and the European model is different and has resulted in faster speeds, lower prices, all this stuff. And what they came back, one of the lessons when I was talking about it, they're like, well, people there are more willing to let the government go and regulate things and say to private companies, this isn't working, here's what you have to do. And I think you're right. I think the political climate in the United States is not ready for that. They can't raise the debt limit. I don't think they can go and tell AT&T they have to open up their pipes.
Right.
Well, if they could do that, they're going to pay for it.
Right.
Go ahead, Dan.
So AT&T have just about ducked out of the race anyway. Their CEO saying their DSL infrastructure was obsolete the other day.
Well, of course, because they and Verizon and all these other guys would like to go to the unnet neutrality wireless and abandon landlines.
Yeah.
Which actually is an opening, and this was the argument that what's his name made, that this is an opportunity really, because as these companies abandon their copper for fiber and mostly for wireless, it's an opportunity for civic governments to come in and take them over and do exactly what you're talking about. And it is in the societal interest. There's no question about that. I just don't know where the money's going to come from. We can't fill potholes in Petaluma, let alone wire every house.
Well,
it was a huge culture shock coming over.
Was it?
Well, yeah, because I left behind my fast DSL for a start.
Right.
No 20 megabits anymore, and the roads. Incredible.
And our taxes are so much lower. No, they're not.
I think it's about the same.
It is exactly the
sort
same.
of overall tax burden's about the same in the US as it was in the UK.
Right.
That's the
Can I just say
irony.
the political climate in the TWiT IRC chat room is like super hilarious too, right? I mean, people don't trust our government. You know, it's like
That's
actually
very
just a big
American.
problem. You know, it's like they don't. The government is just us. At the end of the day, right? I mean,
I'm with
this
you.
is America. It's like
I
it's
think if
us.
you look
It exists to solve problems
Eli,
of collective action, and whether or not it's effective at doing that is the problem. But the idea of the government solving collective action problems is, in and of itself, why we have a government. So. That's the end of I completely hijacked this show.
No, I love it. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
We're gonna do the libertarians will come storming us any second, but I think that's part of what we've seen with the Murdoch situation is that there is an institutional coziness that has gone to an extreme now. That government and media and police and large corporations, and I don't mean to sound like I'm moving to the Kremlin because I'm not. But no, the government isn't us right now. The government isn't even open with us. And
No,
that's the
actually,
problem.
you have a good point. So now what do we do?
Well, we
We throw the bastards out? Is that the solution?
Well, if you can, but I think that there are some solutions in transparency and technology. They aren't full solutions, and no, I'm not doing my Little Red Riding Hood going through the woods routine here. But I think that the more transparency we have, the more government is accountable, the more corporations are accountable. And I think in terms of this discussion alone on technology, this is where you get to things like unregulated white space in broadcast, which Google fought for, which would create competition to wired and wireless broadband.
Does our future rely on benign corporations like Google?
That's the big question.
I think what you're really asking is how benign is Google?
Well, we don't know.
Right.
That's the problem. I'm not sure I would trust benign corporations over our government. I don't know. Who do we trust now? Maybe we have to be, what do we have to be, freedom fighters, Jeff? We have to take to the streets?
I agree. Yeah, we are the government. We just aren't acting like it as a people.
Right.
Right. But I think, I think structurally the problem is that as Americans, we are, taught, conditioned, encouraged to distrust and fear our government, right? And that's like the grandest American tradition is throw the bastards out, they're all corrupt. I'm fine with that, but at some point you have to be like, well, we have to solve problems.
You need to trust some bastards.
Right,
you need somebody
Google,
in there.
It's not Google laying fiber in Tulsa.
You're the
That's not the
bastard.
answer to every problem.
Because anybody, but I wouldn't do it. Nobody who has a brain would serve. Or is that true? Go ahead, Ed. I can see you want to jump
I
in.
think the most worrying thing about politics is the people who want to become politicians. It's true. But
So should we have compulsory political service like they have compulsory military service?
Yeah.
at the age of 5.
Yeah, even I, man of the people, stopped the line at the kid in the Burger King becoming my ruler. Not happening.
I think ultimately you have to have professional politicians. I don't. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I would run, but I have birth certificate issues, so really.
Easy for you to get off.
Yeah,
the
someone say
non-citizens
That's
in here
terrible.
say, well, it's not our fault.
Just can't see it.
We'll just migrate if it gets too tough here.
Well, let's talk about a pie in the face. As you mentioned the Rupert Murdoch word, Jeff Jarvis. It's a kind of a shame that the pie in the face happened. But you have to wonder what kind of security that a guy who was carrying a shaving cream pie could walk right up to Rupert Murdoch and hit him.
I love my country. I mean, I love the fact that people can still
pretty
throw
open.
pies in the face of
Pretty
wrongdoers, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
It did kind of distract, unfortunately. I think the case could be made that maybe it'd be better if the testimony had continued, and maybe it was Rebecca. What's her name? Rebecca Baker. Maybe it was her. No, Rebecca. Who's the woman?
Wendy?
The redhead.
Wait, the news-
Rebecca Brooks.
Brooks.
Rebecca Brooks.
Maybe it was Rebecca Brooks who paid for the pie thrower because then it put off her testimony, gave her a little extra time, maybe. Yeah.
You never know, but I mean, we do huff and puff and make scandals and so on, but we also don't take ourselves too seriously. So, I'll take the pie for that.
All right. What is your take, Jeff, so far on the scandal?
Well,
did you watch with rapt attention yesterday?
Absolutely.
Hard not to.
Absolutely. It was just an amazing show. And I think that Rupert is as dotty as they get now, and that they were trying to protect him from that, or that was a show, or it was Rupert trying to go for sympathy. And if that was the humblest day of his life, then it shows how humble he is, which is not to say not at all. I agree with that. I find it interesting that the nation that invented much of our government got rid of all this notion of talking about my honorable friend, the gentleman from Georgia, and they just say things. They just talk, and it has less formality and less BS. But that show part aside, I think that I come back to what I said earlier. I think that there's an incest among the institutions in society, which sounds awfully broad, but it is. But we really saw it in a shocking way, that how close the newspaper company was to the highest seat of power, how close they were to the police, how the police hired the newspaper people to go deal with the newspaper people. It really is pretty
so
shocking.
cozy. It was so cozy, wasn't it?
Jeez. Which is also, pardon me, Ed, Britain.
I mean, not to be too cynical, but I'm pretty sure it's always been that way. And what's happened now is that we get a glimpse and they really let it slide. But I don't see that over, like the last 50 years that we've worked any differently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I kind of got off track. I mean, it's not really our beat, but I just thought we got a Brit here. We got Jeff Jarvis here. We ought to really talk a little bit about it.
Yeah. I mean, I keep on throwing out the speculation that News Corp will have to get professional management. When that happens, they'll get rid of the newspapers, and it will become an entertainment company, which is what it really is.
And actually, you've been really outspoken. In fact, I thought you've been quite cranky on Google Plus lately, Jeff.
Yeah, it got me mad. Yeah,
but that's really, I've been following. The Google Plus has been a great place to follow that story.
Yeah,
oddly enough.
Well, I disagree there, Leo.
No,
I disagree. I think at least take during the hearing. Twitter was, I think, a much better way to follow it because the chronology was safe. You didn't know who to follow. Whereas on Google Plus, the breaking of the chronology,
you get animated GIF, then news, then animated GIF, then news, and then an animated GIF of the pie.
Kitty cat.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree with you. You're right. Yeah.
And the lack of a hashtag again. We've talked about that before, and we don't want to go into a full Google Plus show again. But I think that one thing that Twitter sees is the need to create the infrastructure for people to gather around topics, places, times, memes, things like that. And Google Plus, ironically, doesn't have that.
We know there are different things that are happening here. On Twitter, you're getting real live reportage and comment. On Google Plus, I'm finding I'm getting thoughtful debate.
Conversation, engagement.
Yeah, the op-ed, the considered stuff. I can't necessarily make sense of the tweet stream.
And of course, if you create a circle that's just people who are writing about this, you could follow that circle quite effectively. I think actually most of the complaints I hear about Google Plus are from people who are just following everything, who aren't using circles.
Right, they're not doing it right.
You're doing it wrong.
It's a user error.
Yeah. Don't you understand? Make circles. Use them. No, actually, I'm not surprised because it's such a pain in the ass to make circles. But there is a solution.
You think it's a pain in the ass?
Well, it's easier than other circles, other list-making tools, but let's talk about Ed's article. Actually, I think that this is an interesting piece. Why Google Plus isn't just another social network? Can you synopsize for us, Ed?
Sure. I mean, I've been thinking about this a bit over the last week, and feeling that casting Google Plus just against Facebook and as a competitive service was a very narrow view of what's actually going on. One of the unique things about Google is they don't need to make money out of the social graph.
No ads on it at all now.
Right now, their business does not depend on it in a way that Twitter and Facebook can't say that.
Well, Twitter can. Only because they have enough VC, they can keep going. But ultimately, they're right. That's got to be a business.
Right. That puts them in a very interesting position to be able to commoditize what they're actually offering with, creating circles and sharing a notification and really opening it up. We haven't seen the API yet,
right? Of
course, but I have high hopes from the kind of signals that they're giving out that it'll be pretty open. And suddenly, they can make these notification sharing friending services available to anyone who wants to incorporate them without feeling they have to own them.
Right.
Without having to say like Facebook, well, you can have this, but only as long as it serves our purposes.
Right. It strikes me that also Google Plus, Twitter really, and this is what you were talking about a little bit, Jeff, with following this trial. Twitter really is a signal. It's a information signal. It's almost a nervous system of content flowing over a signal. Whereas Google Plus really is much more like email, much more like a communications medium.
Yeah.
Or discussion medium.
Yeah, but I mean, in fact, I think it can, as some have done, including Mike Elgin, incredibly replace email.
I think, Mike, I come from the point of view that computers are here to serve us. And particularly with the social systems, the more they model what we like to do in real life, which is not stand at the top of a building yelling at people in 140 characters, it's getting in groups having conversations.
Right.
Then that's a platform where we can fit computers into really helping us make sense of the world.
But Ed, I'm finding already, I'm fearing for the scaling of Google Plus. Because even though they have, latest number is 18 million users or whatever, it ain't 750 million. And how many threads? I finally installed Comment Plus as an extension so I could cut down all the comment threads. Because a 200 comment thread is not a conversation. It's useless. It gets back to, I'm going to say it, the problems I had with Buzz.
Yeah.
It went on and on and on and on. People say, "Oh, you're not back here talking with us." Well, no, because I can't even deal with 200 comments. I had something to say. People say something interesting back. You repeat yourselves like millions of times. I still like Google Plus, but I see a real problem there that's only going to get worse. No.
Well, this is kind of the power user problem, isn't it? For 99% of Google Plus users, they're probably not going to suffer too much of this, but it really matters because people who shape opinion are the ones who suffer from it, right? The whole Scoble issue.
Oh God,
it's a whole bundle of issues.
I want to block Scoble, and I love Robert, and he's an old friend, but I want to block him because it's too meta for me. I want to actually use Google Plus. I make a point now of not saying anything about Google Plus on Google Plus.
You know who I just blocked?
It's like Fight Club. Who?
I just blocked Calicanis. He did the worst comment bait I've ever seen. He's giving away a Sonos to anyone who, at random, anyone who leaves him a comment.
Are you surprised?
No.
I never circled him in the first place for that very reason.
I am terrified what happens, though. When the brands start coming.
Is that the verb, to circle someone?
Well, we can't decide. Some people have been saying to circle them size.
That's when you take them out.
I think to circle them. Yeah.
So you circle them to put them in.
Or
you
encircle.
Size
How about
That
encircle?
just
That sounds very
creepy.
German.
You have been encircled. You will enjoy it.
I will say this about my experience on Google Plus so far. I think the reason that we're all busy talking about how good it is in engagement and how interesting it is and how you have these great conversations is because Google was smart enough to open it up to a bunch of journalists and Google employees to begin with. So our early experiences it was us. It was these conversations we have amongst each other. And I think when you begin to scale it, I think that's going to begin to deteriorate. And I'm curious to see how that takes place because I think it's cool. It's right now it's a cocktail party, and cocktail parties are interesting and fun, no matter what form you have them in. And when it goes from a cocktail party to Lollapalooza, then things change.
So what I think you're saying is you're heading to a point where you don't control the discussion that happens because, sorry, I'm pixelating badly. I'm trying to stay very
It's
still.
attractive, though. I like it.
I do not move.
A Rorschach test.
To heck with it. I have bad skin today. So that you can put out something and you don't have any control over how many people can comment on it. Right. So it's not your cocktail party anymore.
Well, let me put something to you, right? When the web started, we could list every web page on an index on Yahoo.
Right.
And
Human power.
people were saying, this is going to scale. How's this going to scale? I can't read it anymore. And Google and other search engines came along and made sense of that. If we're engaged with this, I got to have some kind of faith that Google are looking at this problem and probably more than anybody else have got tools to figure out how to solve it.
Absolutely agree. I think what we're doing is having the hubris to try to do the job for them.
Right,
just relax and float downstream on the
on the surface of things, right? No, I mean it's curious, and I I think it's good that Facebook has a serious competitor in social now, and I think Facebook will respond in some interesting way as well. I'm happy to see them going at it directly, and I know that your argument is that
it's not
Facebook,
yeah.
but I think this will push Facebook to want to be that social layer that they already were, and I think that's what Facebook perceived itself as, and I think they're going to realize now that they have to be much broader in terms of allowing access to the graph and in terms of spreading their friend relationships across the web than they'd ever anticipated being.
Right. I mean, being open is one very good way to undermine your competitors. You don't have to go far in the land of Google to look at Android, and that kind of all-embracing, welcoming attitude has pretty much helped them eclipse iOS. And I think if they apply the same kind of strategy here, then because the friending or the following model is much more fluid, much more versatile, and they don't have the same kind of brand associations as Facebook, they're in a great position to open up and have the kind of services that Google Plus provides, flow through many kinds of web applications.
It's as you say, it's infrastructure,
right?
And I think we just haven't seen where it's going because we haven't seen an API yet. I think it's such early days. That there aren't tools attached to it for comment control. There's all sorts of things missing.
But they've got to do one thing first. They've got to do the job better than Facebook or as good as Facebook in the first place before they can take it further.
Well, they learned that from Buzz because Buzz had. I mean, Buzz could have been just as important of an announcement, but by launching it in a wonky fashion, they killed it basically. And so they need to learn from that. You're right. It has to launch in a way that doesn't kill it before it gets to its maturity, but I just think there's so much more, and it becomes infrastructure when you have an API. You have it become background to a lot of other things, and then it can really be valuable, I think. Right. And that deals with all the problems you have, Jeff, because it's no longer something you go to the plus page to look at.
I think once the API comes, what's going to be really fascinating here is when the API comes out, and to see what happens with it then, what gets fixed by the community. I mean, I remember, and the irony of this is Fred Wilson said this about Twitter when I complained about some things I wanted on Twitter, and he said, that's not Twitter's job, that's developers' job. Right. Well, not so much anymore,
Not
Fred.
anymore now.
Yeah.
But I think that Google will look
Google will do it that way, though.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
And I think that they have this basis. And when you build into that, things like the profile become incredibly important, and they're putting value into that. That becomes part of the infrastructure of this. But I think developers could do amazing things with this, and that's what will have them eclipse Twitter. And I think Twitter is the more important
I think it could eclipse email. I think it could eclipse a lot of things. I think it could be a new form of communication. And
yeah.
But it's very interesting you say email, because despite repeated rumors of its death, email still hasn't gone.
Well, I wish it would die.
It just tortures us. That's all.
Yeah, I just wish it would go.
Yeah.
Wait, why? Why?
You love email?
I run my business on email. Why do you think?
I love
should
email.
go
But
away?
do you want to run your business on email, Nilay?
I can't imagine what else I would run it on. I mean, what other kind of distributed, secure, only I can see it system are you going to trust?
So here's why email works, is because it best models what we want to do in real life and society.
Well, being bugged by all kinds of people who tuck at my coat and tell me things when I don't want them to tell it to me. It's like going on the subway and having everybody try to have
They
a
are the
conversation
trappings
with
of fame,
just
Jeff.
5 minutes from you.
Trappings
That's all
of
we want.
fame.
So you're pointing out again that he doesn't have a
We're gonna
normal
send it to you.
experience.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not normal.
I mean,
Sorry.
my job as a journalist is to distribute information to people, and
What about all
part of
the
that means I have to
incoming crap?
filter through information.
Google
every day.
getting rid of the spam.
Jeff is just ranting at me in silence.
I don't know who to.
Go ahead. Can we hear you? I didn't.
I hear him. Don't you hear him?
I couldn't hear him.
Oh, I can make myself heard.
All right,
I'm
we're gonna
sorry.
take.
I didn't mean to talk over you.
We'll take a Chipotle break, and then and we'll come back. Fighters go to their corners, and we will continue in a moment. Nilay Patel is here from thisismynext.com, soon to be TheVerge.com. Will that change the beat that you cover?
No.
Not,
I mean, we're
but
gonna
more
get
than
bigger.
gadgets.
Yeah, it will be gadgets. We're going to do, I mean, I think we recognize the things that Google Plus and Facebook and Twitter they're an important part of what you do with gadgets. And I think, the reason we're not called like webtech.com is because we want to be about culture and society as well as megabytes and display resolution. So we're going to get a little bigger. It's going to be more than 3 posts a day on this.
Okay, but I was reading Gizmodo, and they had an article about a woman who has a nipple on her foot.
No, we will not have any Nipplefoot articles.
Thank you.
I'll tell you that right now.
Brian Lamb leaves, and 1 week later, they've got Nipplefoot, and it's like, I don't want. This is not why I go to Gizmodo.
They're ready to step into the breach that the News of the World has left behind.
Apparently, there is a huge gap, a Nipplefoot gap.
But now
you
know.
Tell me one more thing, Leo. How did it get there?
I didn't put it there.
Somebody emailed it to them. Just shut down email. Just shut it down.
I mean the nipple, not the email.
Who cares? I don't understand why I'm scrolling through. And by the way, it's on my portable, my mobile, my Android, which means that it's like taking over my phone with his Nipplefoot, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it.
Well, I will promise you right now that there will be no Nipplefoot.
This is my next nipple? Good.
I can make you that watermark. At the very
Nipplefoot on the Verge, please. No.
That sounds like the worst album name of all time.
No, it's a good band name, Nipplefoot.
Nipplefoot on the Verge.
You heard of Nickelback? No, we're Nipplefoot.
It's terrible.
It's awful. And I'm
Somebody
sorry
go buy a brick from Nipplefoot just for Leo.
I'm just saying, please, there's a better way. And I know that Nilay and company. By the way, he's very good on Jimmy Fallon.
He is very good. I was in the audience that day live. They ate it up. I've never seen anything when he gave all those Chromebooks away.
Yeah.
I have never seen a frenzy like that.
How did that? Did you guys get something from Google to do that, or how did that work?
Yeah, you have to ask him. But the backstory that he told me was, he was going to demo the Chromebook. He thinks it's a really cool idea, and we all do, right? And he said, well, I've always wanted to do an Oprah giveaway. Can we do it? And Google was super into it.
Sure, why
It was
not?
great. It was when we were leaving the audience. They had a huge pallet of them stacked up in the lobby. People were like running towards them. They'd like do crowd control. It was like wild. The woman in front of me when I was in the audience with Ross from The Verge and my fiance, and we were sitting there. We knew it was going to happen, but the people in front of us just freaked out. They were like, it was like some people on vacation, and the mom leaned over to the daughter and said, "This is just the most perfect day I've ever had."
Oh my God!
And I was like, "It's like a $350 laptop."
That justifies your belief in the Chromebook, which I personally I don't get. So maybe you guys are right.
I have it. It's here. We were playing with it last night. I put it after 20 minutes. I put it down and opened up my real computer. So you can't run Skype on it. I couldn't do this.
Well, that's kind of my point. Is like if I just want a browser, I'll just launch the browser.
Yeah. But people, I've never seen anything. There was like people falling out in the audience. They were like, it was the rapture had descended on them. And it was Samsung Chromebooks.
That's people who go to TV shows. That's who that is.
It was
Free
cool.
tickets.
Hey, we're in New York. How about free tickets to see Jimmy Fallon?
But more to the point, you got to announce The Verge on like network television. That's pretty freaking great.
It was really cool. I mean, I've never been a part of anything like that before, and it was cool. It was humbling, and thank you, Jimmy, for letting us do it and for having Josh, for putting up with Josh. Josh's 10th appearance. You think he would have worn out his welcome by now?
That's amazing.
I'm about to quit. Actually, I can't stand it.
Jeff Jarvis is also with us. He's cranky, but he's happy.
Hey, who's cranky?
No, you've been cranky this week. I thought, gosh, I hope Jeff's all right. He's awfully cranky on Google+. Maybe it's Google+. It's making you cranky.
Maybe.
Am I wrong? Am I?
Yeah.
You don't think you're getting a little cranky? Is the weather hot? Is it like hot weather that's making you a little?
Yeah. I don't know. Let me lie down on the couch, Leo, and
get some Chipotle. Also, Ed Dumbill is with us from O'Reilly Media. We're talking right now, though, about Squarespace.com, the secret behind exceptional websites and a great place to go for your first website or this is my next website. .com. I actually, I just got my ham license last week, and so I've immediately.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I've been a ham for my whole life, but finally I have a piece of paper that proves it. Oh boy, it's so fun. The gear you get, I just got my radios. Oh, I'm so excited. But first thing I do is go to squarespace.com. I click this big try it free button, put my call letters in. I said, I've got a new website, and I set it up, and it's so fast. I'm not showing it to you yet because the call letters aren't official yet, so I can't show it to you. Oh, I've got this stupid upside down scrolling. It's going to drive me crazy. The mouse goes up, the page goes down, everything's all around. See that? Okay, look. I'm scrolling the mouse up, but the website goes. Oh, I'm gonna have to change that. It makes sense on a. For some reason, it makes sense on a.
First thing I did,
touch
turn
thing.
it off.
Turn it off. Yeah. I'm sorry, I got distracted. This is the secret behind exceptional websites. No matter how you scroll it. And what you'll do there is you set up the site. You get to use all the features. You got 2 weeks free. Try the templates, the social integration. You know, the little widgets that let you put your Twitter or your Facebook, and as soon as there's an API, I'm sure Google Plus in there. Actually, because there's Google Plus RSS, you could actually just put the RSS feeds in there. The widgets support any kind of RSS. Point and click, drag and drop. You don't have to be a HTML guru to do this. You're going to get a great site and great hosting, too. And that's really important because, you know, it's one thing to have software. It's another thing entirely to have a great host. People often ask me who's the best host. It's Squarespace. For your photo blog, for your business, for your nonprofit, for your ham radio station, whatever you want to do, this is a great place. Price, very affordable. Remember, you're getting hosting and software. The longer you sign up for, of course, the less it costs. It starts $12 a month. You can even get down to $10 a month. But let me tell you this. If you use the offer code TWIG7, you'll get 10% off for the first 6 months. And that's a good deal. Squarespace.com. Sign up for the free site. Play with it. If you decide you want to buy it, use the offer code TWIG7 for 10% off for the first 6 months. It's the secret behind exceptional websites. Why are you laughing? This is my next website.
Yeah. I'm laughing because the people in the chat room, I have our little Mac Mini review unit here.
Oh.
They're yelling at me to go open it and review it live.
You have the new Mac Mini, huh?
Yeah, it's over in the corner. But I have to I would show it to you, but I have to unbox it. So.
Oh, it's kind of skinny and pretty, and you can add RAM now without a butter knife, which is nice.
Yeah, the whole bottom comes out. That was the old one. This is just new processors. It's a really nice computer. I mean, it's cheaper. I think it's $600 starting.
Yep.
And Joanna Stern has our review unit of the new Air, so that'll be. I think she's hard at work on that review right now.
How did she get that assignment?
She's our reviews editor. It's what she does.
She assigned it to herself, is what she did.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly that.
I'll be doing that assignment.
First to the door.
Yeah. So Google just announced this one. This is kind of a shocker. I like the name of the title of this blog post. More wood behind fewer arrows. Google is shutting down Google Labs.
Wow.
While we've learned a huge amount, writes Bill Cogran, SVP for Research and Systems Infrastructure, by launching very early prototypes in labs, we believe that greater focus is crucial if we're to make the most of the extraordinary opportunities ahead. So they're going to either save labs experiments that are going on right now into product areas or shut them down.
If they take multiple inbox away from me, I will throw a gigantic fit. I'll say that right now.
This kind of surprises me.
It does me too. It shocks me. I think what's next to go? The 20% rule.
It is a big shift. They said we'll continue to push speed and innovation, but not through the labs website. So there are so many cool things in here.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's something going on, isn't there? Because
is this Larry?
The labs are really cool, and there's nifty stuff. But for a while, particularly last year, I felt that the pace of change in Google Apps and so on had kind of stalled. That it's pretty much the same. You know, Gmail wasn't doing anything more for me, despite the fact that I got more email and so on. That seems to have picked up now, and I wonder if this is just kind of like a continuation, the realization that they can't let their main product lines linger, and they might need to be a bit more focused about improving stuff.
Yeah, it is about. I think it's Larry and focus. I think that's the word they use. But what that means to me is more control from the top, even more of what comes out.
Boy, I'd really like to know what's going on in there. It feels like there's a culture shift in this company.
So GigaOM has an update on their story. Google spokesman says Gmail Labs, Calendar Labs, and other labs will not be shut down. Just the Labs program that brought us Google Goggles and Google Reader, which sounds terrible. So it sounds like they're just diversifying these efforts back into their main product categories instead of having this one kind of cohesive website.
But you just said two things, two great things, which came out of the Labs: Reader and Goggles.
Right. I mean, I depend on Reader. I don't.
Me too.
I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything serious with that. But
no, but it's the point is this is these labs are it's like AT&T shutting down Bell Labs. This is where good stuff comes from.
They did.
I
guess the question is, would Reader still be able to come out of a division, or would Reader was just something wholly new that wouldn't exist?
They must have a plan.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is a combination of Larry and Sergey, right? Because Larry is in charge of execution, Sergey's in charge of new products. I think they're trying to really divide up the roles, and you've got to focus on making new products better in order to execute your long-term plans, right? And that's what this feels like. They're just trying to streamline instead of being the chaotic playground that is Google. Whether I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's what this feels like to me.
It's so much.
If they take, but look, I will say this now. Hear me now, Google. If you take away multiple inboxes, I will come over there.
Holmes says they won't.
I will come over there.
Don't make me hurt you. Yeah. Don't make me pull this podcast over. So I do feel like there is a shift, though, going on at Google. I mean, I think G Plus, in a way, is kind of is a new Google.
But I get a message right now when I did a search through my Chrome bar for Leo Laporte. It says on the search results page at the top, the experiment you're trying to access is no longer available. Now, I don't know what experiment it was.
That's a problem.
Whatever it is.
Does it only come up for Leo?
It's the Leo Laporte experiment.
No. It's but that's it. I don't know. It's like those moments on Google Plus where you see a post that says the post is no longer here, and that's the only time you really want to wish you could read it.
Well, I'm using this lab thing, which is the voice search. Were you using voice search? It's still working for me. Jeff, oops. Let's do another one. What? Jeff Jarvis. I just want to see if it understands. Yeah, and it said, yeah, Java it. Or, yeah, bit. I'm feeling lucky. Instead of Jeff Jarvis, I get me.
Nipplefoot.
Nice. Nicely done.
Yeah. That's, I guess it knew what I wanted.
I mean, don't you really just want yourself? I mean, fundamentally, you're always just Googling yourself.
Could they go wrong if they just replaced all searches with ego searches? They couldn't go wrong. It would just be a natural. One thing Google did, I really have to praise. Well, actually, okay. I won't say anything. I'll let you guys weigh in on this. But if you did a Google search, I don't know if it's still going on, but if you did a Google search yesterday from Google.com and you had malware on your machine, it would tell you.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's good.
Brilliant.
They knew it because there's the malware was sending all the requests through a certain proxy, right? So if you came from the IP address of that proxy, they could figure out that you were infected. But very public-spirited.
Nothing
wrong
wrong
with
with
more than that, too. I saw Matt Cutts at Google a week ago when I was out there, and he swore me to secrecy. I was already sworn to secrecy by being in the facility. But now that they've done it, what's interesting here is that this is also a form of crowdsourcing in a way. It's a way to expose the depth of the malware problem. What they're saying in part here is people are running malware and they have no way to know it. So this now surfaces that.
Well, and I think it is public-spirited. If Google knows it and doesn't say anything about it, that would be wrong.
Exactly. So it gives you, it's like we're all getting, hemorrhoid checks thanks to Google.
Free colonoscopies today.
Is that really the right comparison to make? You can't be like, we're all getting a flu shot. You're going to write for the hemorrhoid.
It's not Chrome. It's going to be renamed Cough.
Nice.
Jeff and I are just giving you a little preview of your future as you age, Nilay.
This is terrible.
Just a little something to look forward to.
And over.
Nothing like a colonoscopy on a summer day. So, by the way, summer day, July 20th, on this day in 1969. Come on.
I saw it on the chat room already.
Well, you tell us then. Neil Armstrong walked on the moon.
Oh,
he did.
That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for man.
And then Michael Bay blew it up.
And then they blew it up.
immediately afterwards.
It's Moon Day.
And tomorrow
didn't
is
happen.
Marshall McLuhan's 100th birthday.
And in neither case has Google celebrated, but they do have peas on their front page because this is also Gregor Mendel's, 189th birthday.
That's pretty cool.
That's obscure. It could have had a moonwalk on there. But I do like the illustration. The Google Doodle's kind of cool.
It's this kind of strange role that Google's playing as the socialist state that America doesn't have. You know, warning us of infections that we need to get vaccinated against, educating us into scientific history.
It is. Stay calm and get
Google
infected.
is a socialist overlord.
Is that a bad thing? Speaking as somebody from a socialist nation, is this something to look forward to?
Wow.
They managed to keep the tone so it doesn't annoy me, but it's just an interesting phenomenon that they're the ones doing this first.
There is a meme going around of that British stay calm, and I guess that's from World War II.
Stay calm and carry on. And
carry on,
Make
yeah.
a cup of tea.
Yeah, and there's now those signs everywhere with everything on them.
The latest version is Stay Calm and +1.
Stay calm and
Oh,
+1.
lovely.
Somebody made a stay calm and buy a brick for me.
Ah, good.
I like that.
And my favorite one is stay calm and eat cupcakes.
Yes. Keep calm and carry on. It's better than, let's put it this way, it's better than any animated cat GIF you can think of.
Can someone please come up with an extension that just gets rid
That's
of
why
the
you're
GIFs?
cranky. I knew it.
It is. It is. I just...
Keep calm and carry on. There's the original.
Somebody's going to make an animated GIF out of that.
Oh, I'm sure they have. Just go to Google Plus now, everybody, and put your animated GIFs up. Let me just see if there's any animated GIFs. I think that, you know, we talked about this on TWiT, and Jenny Jardin, who is admittedly one of the offenders, she puts a lot of animated cat GIFs up there. But I love Jenny. I mean, she's a Boing Boing contributor. She's got a great sensibility. I don't mind the animated GIFs.
Because you're a nice guy, Leo.
I said, in fact, that we may look back and say it was the animated GIF that put Google Plus on the map.
Oh.
Let me see if there's any in my... Oh, see, I'm scrolling the wrong way again. See if there's any...
They're actually really confusing when you use the mobile app because they don't animate.
They don't
them.
animate.
So I'm like, all these very strange pictures which are the first frame and make no sense at all.
You're right. You're very right.
One thing Google did do well, and it kind of surprised me, I put an IMDb link in, and it rendered it beautifully.
Wow.
And the Google guys say, oh yeah, if the XML or HTML is properly formatted, when you put a link in, we'll always do the right thing. So you're seeing a lot of links from a lot of sources that do format out very well. And I think, you know, obviously the animated GIF was an intentional thing, but I think they're doing a really good job with interpreting URLs and making it a very rich stream.
I'm surprised no one has done an animated GIF of the pie plate.
Well, because I don't think anybody saw it.
It's just from behind, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There should be an animated GIF.
TV was looping it like it was an animated GIF.
Right. Of Mrs. Murdoch leaping to defend her husband, which is a good argument for marrying a younger woman, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
From a volleyball team.
Yeah. Is she from a volleyball team?
Yes, she is. Yeah.
She spiked that guy.
She did.
Wham!
Have you followed Trey Ratcliffe?
Oh, I'm a huge Trey.
Right.
You know, Trey, we know Trey because I've known him for a long time. He's a regular on many of our shows. He does amazing HDR photography. And I would say that more than anyone, he has benefited from Google+. It has become the Trey Ratcliffe site.
He's really used it brilliantly. He's put up just the right number of photos. They're striking. People love them.
But can I point out something? He's been doing this on Facebook and other social sites for a long time. He was a big Buzz user. It's not merely that Trey is brilliant. It's that this is the right medium for him.
As I've been saying, this is about sharing.
And Google did another brilliant thing. This Lightbox is simply the best Lightbox for photographs I've ever seen. I mean, this is better than Flickr. The comments are there, other pictures are there, the number of comments. I mean, this is a really great way to look at pictures, and I think a photographer like Trey, a lot of photographers, in fact, have really benefited from this. So Trey,
what becomes interesting about that, Leo, is if you're, you know, does it become better at some point than YouTube to show your best video if you use it well?
So. I see a lot of YouTube videos on here. Look at this, you know. See a lot of these.
I think the key thing is that it's in the conversation when it's on Google+. It's not out in a silo that's dedicated. You're just walking into the room and showing people what you've done.
Is Google Plus the world's biggest BBS? I think that's the
It is. It's a forum, isn't it? It's really
it's just a
forum.
huge forum. And
yeah.
And they're trying to build the forum layer over the top. It's an interesting way to look at it, but I'm just so curious how they're going to actually use my personal data, right? I mean, this feels like the theme of our show is: do you trust
to
a benign
serve you
corporation?
better, sir?
Why
to
would
serve
they?
you better.
Yeah, why would they? What would they do? Come on, Nilay. First of all, they already know everything about you.
Just give in. Just shut up.
Just give in and shut up. Stay calm and shut up.
Relax and float downstream.
Yeah. By the way, they have now banned the brands.
Yay.
Dan Patterson of ABC News just posted on Google Plus that they have, in fact, killed the ABC News radio page. This is something they said they did not want brands to do this. And I applied for the TWiT brand page on there. I didn't jump the gun like Mashable, ABC, a lot of organizations, and because I just thought, well, I'm going to honor their request not to do that. It's interesting though that they've actually clobbered them. They're gone.
Right, I mean they had to, right? Because if you did the right thing, they couldn't say, "Well, there's the right
Right,
thing."
I felt bad.
Some people are too big to fail.
Yeah,
It's a good socialist
if they
kind of
killed-
way to run things.
you know what? Probably Mashable is the one who screwed it up for everybody else because they were like now the number 4 most followed page on there. Let me see. Yeah, they're
Well, what's
gone.
interesting so imagine if Twitter had done that at the beginning. If Twitter had created people space and brand space, right? And then it could have monetized brand space. I think what we're going to see here is not advertising as we know it. I think we're going to see brands using it. And we have Michael Dell, who I'm sure followed our advice from the show 3 weeks ago, and he's looking at how to use Plus for customer service and Hangouts for customer service. So if you really look at I was talking to a whole bunch of hyperlocal people, and I said that they should look at the merchants in their towns as members of their community and finding ways to serve their benefits and make money from that. And I wonder whether that was where Google goes, whereas Twitter still is flailing out there with no damn business plan. Matthew Ingram wrote on GigaOM today, quoting Dick Costello, saying that they're going to become a real-time commerce company. What?
Sorry.
What? Meanwhile, you saw one of these stories in the list is Twitter just is supposedly closing an $800 million round, $400 million of which will go to investors and employees.
Oh, that's interesting.
And somebody said
They're taking money off the table now.
Somebody in Google Plus said uncharitably it was a Ponzi scheme. That's a little strong, but one should worry about a company that starts taking money off the table.
That's what Groupon did with their most recent round. Yep.
But on the other hand, what's happening is there are private markets now that are doing it anyway. And I think it was Costello who said, or one of them said at some event last week, that the private market exchanges are causing them big problems because employees are trying to cash out. And so, we really need a new structure for earlier markets.
It's very interesting. What a world we live in. Google, while it's shutting down, Google Labs is apparently spending millions of dollars, according to the New York Times, to find the next Google. Claire Kane Miller says that, writing in the New York Times, says Google is betting $200 million as a venture capital company looking for Google investments. I guess that makes sense. $200 million isn't a huge fund, is it?
No, it's not. Well, not for that.
No, they got $39 billion in the bank. Google, put in $1 billion or $2 billion. Put some money in there. What are you doing with all that money in the bank?
Yeah, well, another thing to do, I think, if you look at the early days of Twitter, didn't Kleiner Perkins start a Twitter fund?
Yes.
They started a mobile fund. But
They
started a
did.
Twitter
They
fund,
started a Twitter fund for Twitter apps, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Wonder how that's going for him.
Yeah, exactly. That's worth a story. Hey, reporters out there, that's worth a story. So why shouldn't Google, when they come up with the API, start a Plus fund?
Google Ventures says it's invested as much money in the first half of 2011 as it did in all of 2010. Larry Page says they're going to continue at that rate. They are pumping money out there. I think that's smart.
Yeah, it hedges, doesn't it? I mean, you can't achieve all the innovation you want inside your own company.
Close the labs.
It's impossible.
And start a venture fund. Not a bad idea. Google spent at least $1 million on g.co. This is the new domain. I immediately checked, and twit.co and leo.co are already gone.
Jesus.
Didn't take any time at all. I can't get my name, darn it, ever,
Nice.
anywhere. But apparently, according to the .co folks, CO is Columbia. You know, the single-letter domains, t.co is Twitter's shortening. Google just bought g.co. The .co guy who runs the .co registrar, Juan Diego Calle, said that it's north of $1.5 million to get a single-letter .co.
They're making big money. I mean,
That's a good deal.
those guys have been sponsoring the Web Expo conferences in Moscone for some years now.
Really? .co?
Yeah, like big-time spending.
Really?
What do you...
So,
Is it Colombian drug lords laundering their cash?
I'm not authorized to tell you.
I have
Probably not.
Nilay.co.
Do you?
Yeah, that's mine because I couldn't get .com because the person refuses to respond.
How much
to me.
did you pay for the .co?
I paid whatever GoDaddy charged me.
It was like $10.
It was
Oh, okay.
available.
So it's only
Yeah,
like those special one-letter ones.
Yeah,
like if you
so.
wanted p.co,
Yeah, I
that'd be
think.
expensive.
well, it's the URL shortener. But here's a question. Post Twitter, not that I'm predicting any demise here, but in a plus world, do you need shorteners anymore?
I don't think so.
Oh, I would be so glad when they die.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
needless.
Who wants g.co? Although, please, can you bring back their name in the profile? I don't want to be 64379941139999411.
That's silly.
I don't want to do that.
So you're saying that you know what you are.
I am who I am. I am not a number. I am a free man. But it used to work, profiles.google.com/Leo Laporte. Doesn't anymore.
I don't know if they have some privacy issues to nail down there before they can bring that back.
Well, you used to have a switch, right? So on your profile, you could say, I want my name or not.
Well, here's a very interesting along that line is the question of verification. And one of the stories in the list is
Right.
Google's strategy for celebrity acquisition. And part of the question for there is, how do you verify? And one speculation was that you would fax your driver's license in. It's absurd.
I am what I am.
What
Well,
will happen is
they kicked
they'll
Bill
have-
Shatner off. William Shatner said, hey, Google. And by the way, it's not Google. I don't think it's Google who does this. I think it's the users who say, report this. This isn't William
That can't
Shatner.
be
Report
Bill.
it. And he got booted off. And then I'm sure somebody at Google said, whoops, because he got brought back.
Have you
what you'll
reported
have
anyone?
is new gatekeepers. You'll have agents and publishers and
Right.
studios and people like that become the gatekeepers to identity.
I think
Unless-
Google is so wise to defer celebrities and brands
Yes.
Right.
as long as they can.
Well, they should have put. You know what? Here's my sop to Robert Scoble. Robert, you're a celebrity. You should have waited.
Yeah.
You're a star.
He's not allowed.
Yeah.
And then if he gets off, then I could be like number 5.
Yeah.
Mashable, by the way, is still on there. Mashable did not get booted. I thought they might have. But they still have their...
Maybe they'll just do the right thing.
I
Look,
am holding
Slotsky.
back. So what will happen? Will it be like a special brands area? Or
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think they probably just have
One
to
thing
set
I'm
up a
thinking
payment
about
system.
with this notion of ads on Twitter is, and I suggested Bill Gross should do this because they have these clients. I've long wanted to know what's the proportion of tweets that are read or just simply displayed on a screen.
We will never
Well-
know because I don't think Twitter wants us to know that.
Well, but Twitter is not the one who probably knows it.
Well, they
Who
know
knows
from
it
the web.
is a client, right? And so if you're going to put an ad in a stream, you have this problem of how much of your audience isn't seeing you.
Right. How many impressions do you get?
Whereas, so that's going to be a problem that Twitter has to have architecturally. Whereas if you look at Google, look at what Google's done in the past. Google completely reinvented advertising. And this is critical. In old media, the advertiser took the risk. Would this ad work or not was your problem. In Google land, when they sold by the click, Google took the risk and Google aligned its interests with the marketer, right? And that changed the economics of all advertising and all media right there. That was the key thing that happened. That's what really changed everything, is they offered a better deal to advertisers. Well, so come along with Plus. First, they're going to prove that people are there. It's very active. It's a beautiful place. And we're in charge. It's our space. Kind of. And so then if you're going to enter in brands, I think I'm just betting, and I don't know anything about this at all, but I'm betting Google's going to invent something that's as new. And how do you want to interact with Dell, right? And how does Dell want to be interacted with people? You go to things like My Starbucks Idea and the Dell forums where people solve each other's problems and those kinds of things. You can imagine morphing those functions to a world like this. Much higher value, much higher relevance to the user, much better experience. I think we're not going to see plain old ads in streams here. I could be wrong, but I'm going to bet they're going to invent something new for the brands, and it'll be worth it for the brands to wait.
I think you're right. One of the things that strikes me about Google Plus right now is that it's actually earned the word social in social network, right? It's not kind of a half in, half out broadcast platform like Twitter.
Right. Twitter is really not social.
No, it's not the same, is it?
For many, anyway.
And for me, it does that because it more accurately models the way I relate to people, the whole circles thing. If they can accurately model a useful way to relate to brands.
But how would that... I'm trying to think what that would look like.
I think Jeff's got something with more like take the support forums. You walk...
like Get Satisfaction kind of...
You walk into a store, you take it to somebody, say, this isn't working, what's going on?
But a brand doesn't intrude on my stream, necessarily.
Right. If you seek out the brand, or the brand is recommended to you, that becomes incredibly valuable. I even look at Blippy, where my favorite story out of Blippy, and they've pivoted a bit, too, after I finished
Are they still around?
They are. I got a whole damn chapter on Kaplan in there, so he better not die. His company, I mean. But my favorite story from what he tells me is that when Matt Cutts, we've told this before in the show, bought the Wi-Fi scale, and they credit Matt over you, Leo, which may be wrong, but in any case, 100 people bought it immediately.
Right.
And if you look at that, that's the future market.
But now they're a review site.
Right. That's pretty much, they want content. So they've gone to review, and they use the credit card only to be a gateway to reviews. Whatever. I think if you look at changing the relationship of a company to its public on Google Plus, that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is, nobody wants to listen to companies talk about themselves, right? We tell people when the companies speak at conferences and whatever.
I even am starting to revolt at the self-promotion that I see on here. I almost want to see people use Google Plus as a selfless tool. Why you laugh at me?
Wait. You want to give
speaks up.
people, human beings, the ability to broadcast information, but you don't want it to be about themselves.
Yeah.
You are crazy. I don't know what.
I don't mind if it's about themselves, but if it could be about their unique point of view, but an article. But there's so much self-promotion.
It's like a dinner party. You don't want to be talking about yourself all the time,
and you wouldn't be doing
you want
that.
to be revealing enough to be interesting.
Yeah, that's actually how it should be. But how do you enforce that structurally?
But this goes right back. This is why they open it up to journalists who always want to talk about things, and we find ourselves fascinating. But because we're peers and colleagues and egotists. But when you open it up to the huge scale, it is going to be endless self-promotion. Yeah. And I mean that's just the nature. I mean that's
so.
What
Isn't that a big this is in a bigger way the challenge that Google faces with brands? How do you keep something like this compelling and content rich, not just in the face of brand promotion, but in the face of humans?
It ties in a bit with what Tim O'Reilly says about privacy, that all the data's out there. The only chance you've got of regulating it is by building social mores into the system. So if somehow the system punishes people who incessantly talk about themselves, if it's easy to get rid of them or that's frowned on, then that's the best.
We need a new drop down. It doesn't just say report abuse or block this person, but like, this person's too self-promotional. That'd be good.
When I was in college and I threw a lot of parties, I would always say that I knew I was having a good party when there was somebody there that I didn't like and who didn't like me. Because that meant my party was so good that it transcended our personal relationship.
Wow.
And that's like, that Google Plus is right on that cusp. My party is starting to get full of a lot of people I don't know.
Well, I'm seeing an interesting trend on Google Plus to people using this report abuse button against people. In fact, Jenny Jardin just said, how come Mashable's still in here when ABC is gone? And the first comment is, report his fake profile now. People will start using vigilante tools
Yeah, I used it this morning. I woke up and somebody had shared something to me. They were having a competition or something, and
Was it a foot nipple?
it was not.
Was it Jason Calacanis?
I don't think I'd know a foot nipple if I saw
It was
one
probably
that early in the
Jason. It
morning.
was actually probably what you were talking about. He was giving
I know
away.
this is,
And our
we're-
fake profile go away.
Yeah.
We're having, we're building all this new stuff for The Verge, and we're talking about comments and communities, and
It's a huge
we're having
challenge. It's a huge challenge.
It is, and one of the things we took away at Engadget was we took away the downrank buttons, and we said, you know what, people are abused. We want people to go after the good things.
They did on
And
Dig. They misused it on Dig.
Right, and so we want people to spend their energy promoting good things and spend their energy in a positive way, and we'll go through and moderate the bad stuff. We'll take on that role. That's our responsibility. We want readers to go organically find the good stuff, and maybe it worked and maybe it didn't, but that's our thinking. It still kind of is. There's all those buttons that let you do something vengeful. They're ripe for abuse. That the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to use them the wrong way instead of saying this is really good. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. Yeah.
Nilay, let me ask a question. Could you imagine with an API out there, right, so you have more control over what you do, could you imagine building Verge not on a website but on Plus? What would that look like?
So if I was just me, if I was just a guy and I wanted to be a publisher,
You're
and I
just
didn't
a
have-
guy.
And if I didn't have any resources and I wasn't part of a company that is actually a technology company, then yeah, I would say, well, there's a way for me to focus my energies on specific platforms. Because what we think at SB Nation and The Verge is that we can write a WordPress blog, which is what we're doing now, and it's interesting, and we're getting traffic and people like it. But what makes The Verge, what will make that better and good and vital and interesting is how we're going to leverage the technology of the web to make our content new, right? So we're not taking a print magazine and shoving it on the web and saying, well, we're online. And so I think the technology informs the publication. So if I'm just me and I say, well, I don't have the ability to build proprietary technology like I do now, right? Because I'm part of a company. Well, yeah, then I could say, well, I want to use Twitter and Facebook and Google Plus and all these other things in lieu of installing WordPress. You could do it. I don't know what that would look like, but if it was just me and I was driven to do it that way, I could.
It probably wouldn't be your first choice for a content delivery system, but it sure is valuable for brand building. I mean, look what Trey Ratcliffe has gained out of it.
But so let me ask Jeff one question back. So let's say I do that. How do I get paid? Right? Because that's the ultimate question is, fine, I can build an audience. I can build an audience anywhere. I can take my pants off on the internet and somebody will look at it, right? But how do I get paid for that?
This is where I'm assuming there's an API that lets you draw out your best and present it how you wish, but draw people along by using Plus. Maybe Plus is a CMS.
Getting paid though is a different problem.
It's not.
Well, I disagree. I
disagree.
I think everything we do is free, and we get paid by advertising. So you have to solve that getting paid problem. I don't disagree with that, but I think that no matter what you're doing to make money, you also have to generate an audience and a community. And sometimes platforms like this are valuable, and then you can figure out how to get paid as a separate problem. It's not the same. There's marketing and there's how to get paid.
One of the things that I'm very precious about is our editorial integrity, right? And you look at like mommy blogs or some other phenomenon of people becoming massive content producers that didn't have a rich journalistic tradition behind it, right? And it's good. I support that. But then you read some of them, and they're sponsored by all kinds of companies, and their coverage is informed by direct advertiser and advertorial control, and that makes me uncomfortable personally.
Well, I agree with you, but will out also.
Right, but so what I'm saying is, if you build a huge audience, right, the way you get paid is by saying things to that audience. And you can either say them directly through me. I can say, well, Sony sponsored me today, drink this Diet Coke. It's delicious. That's one way to do it. That makes me uncomfortable. The other way is to say, well, I'll take this much space on the page, and you can have this stuff around it. And I'll have a sales guy, and we'll develop a relationship to actually sell that stuff at a premium instead of I'll paste in Google's code or whatever, and we'll just have ads.
No, you're not going far enough. Both those examples are old models of messaging. And if you look at Leo, yes, is Leo messaging? Yes, but we know that Leo only advertises things he trusts, except Chipotle, which has not been smart enough.
I don't trust them, but I'm hungry.
I don't either. But again, I go back to Google, and look what Google did. Google didn't go for messaging. Google went for relevance in search. I think it goes back to what Ed was saying earlier, which I liked a lot too, about the notion of the norms. That Google separated out ads from search. Now, the companies are still in search, but there's a norm about how you're supposed to be there. Right? I watched Matt Cutt's video today, one of his developer videos, and somebody asked him and said, if I'm selling the same products on 3 different sites, but with 3 different business models and sales models and pricing, are you going to consider that spam? And Matt said, well, that's interesting. 3, if they're different enough, probably not. 3,000, yes. With 3,000, you don't pay any attention to the one thing that matters. So Google is making people do things by the law as code, right? So that's part of what Ed is saying, I think, too, is that we got to watch here and see what are the norms and what are the laws that we're seeing emergent here, and where do brands fit into that? And I don't think it's messaging anymore. I think it's relationships, and I think it's data.
Mm-hmm. That's the clue train.
Yeah.
Get on the clue train. That's exactly what the clue train says. It says markets are conversations. And I think there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity for Google, since it's created a conversation platform, to invent a new way of communicating with customers.
But I think what's important to me as somebody who creates content is to make sure that what I'm communicating to people is under my control, right? And not directly. Now, I don't want to go approve the ads that we run on our site, but I want to make sure that they're as classy and beautiful and meaningful to people as the content that we actually have.
Well, that's one approach, or you keep it at arm's length is the other approach.
But when you do that, you run into immediate problems. So the best example I can think of is the one tiny trick to lose your belly fat. Ad,
I hate that ad.
But those are federated network ads,
right,
and they're everywhere. Yeah. And that's what happens at arm's length, right? You develop an exchange that happens far away from the content producer, and then and this has happened to me personally. You wake up one day to your beautiful website that you work for, and there's a belly fat ad on it. And you have to say to yourself, well, that's the deal. That's the bargain. I
think we just need new models. I think that we haven't solved these problems yet, but I think that they are soluble. We got to run. And we have to do a little quick commercial before we run. But I also want to say the Google Plus message of the week from Jeff Jarvis. Felicia Day does not want you to go to Comic-Con without your deodorant, kids. Please. And thank you, Jeff, for finding that. Yes. If you're at Comic-Con, Felicia says, if you're at Comic-Con this weekend, by the way, we'll be covering it. Sarah and Tom are down there right now. We've got coverage. When does the coverage start? Tomorrow? Friday. Friday 4 to 6, Saturday 2 to 4, and I'm sure they'll be wearing their deodorant.
There's great comments in there about geek stink.
Oh, Jeff, I have a question for you. I just thought, not to hijack again. So let's say you somehow manage to monetize the conversation. How do you verify the identities within the conversation? How do you say, well, that person isn't being directly paid by Sony to? How do you keep the trolls out, basically?
No 100% answer at all. I think one thing you do is you control Sony and you hold some weapon over Sony. What I wish Google would do, for example, is when spammers come out selling products, Google should go after the ones who make money, including the products themselves. Stop this.
I think Google Plus does a good job by having a loose, not a forced, but a loose relationship between your actual persona using Google profiles and what you post on there. You're really strongly encouraged not to use a handle on here. I think that's good. I think that's one way to do that, right?
And there's the wisdom of crowds. People can spot a shill a mile off.
Exactly. And trust the audience. I agree. We know immediately, don't we? We know it in our guts.
Yeah.
All right. I do have to take a break and be a shill for a moment, but only briefly to remind everybody. Look, it's easy to sell Netflix. Just go to Netflix. I don't have to sell this. You know what I watched last night, which I really liked? I never heard of this guy, Bill Hicks.
Really? What?
Yeah, I know. I'm shocked. Well, he died in '94. Somehow I missed his career. But many people say he was the greatest comedian or one of the greatest comedians of his time. So there's a great documentary on here made by his family, which I really love. Now, this is an example of something I would never have seen. I would not have ordered the DVD. I would not have found it at a movie store. But on Netflix, watch instantly. It's so cool. You browse around, and you know, I had an hour or two to kill last night, and as usual, I found something really thought-provoking and interesting. I also watched Chuck Barris's Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. That is just weird. Lots of great stuff here. $7.99 a month for unlimited. This is the future, I'm telling you. And yeah, you know, I mean, there's movies, there's TV shows. I was watching Star Trek, the original series. Man, does that look good now, this new high-def version of it that they've created just for this. I love it. That's all I have to say. Netflix.com/twit. Okay, you're already a member? Okay, that's not going to do me any good. Tell your mom, your dad, your friends, your non-tech savvy folks in your life what a great thing Netflix is. They will thank you for it. And if you send them to Netflix.com/twit, I will personally come to your home and smooch you. On the lips or not, you get to choose. Netflix.com. There's something I can't really live up to, actually. Does that make it a lie? No. Because you know better. Netflix.com/twit. Ed Dumbill, I really want to thank you for being here today. It's really nice to have you.
It's been great fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
O'Reilly Media, media.o'reilly.com/Ed.
Yeah. Radar.o'reilly.com.
I'm sorry, Roddy. See, I did that again.
Yeah.
And OSCON, tell us about OSCON. It's coming up next weekend?
It's coming up next week in Portland. We'll be there for 5 days in the convention center. Over 400, I don't know, 500, 600 speakers. It's the
open source
gathering
convention
of the tribes.
It really is the open source convention. And as program chair, you must be having a great time getting people like John O'Bacon, Tim Berglund. I mean, so much fun.
It's huge. It's wonderful to be able to get up. You get up there on stage and you are awed because everyone is around you.
That's really neat.
It's such an honor.
Glad you could be here. Jeff Jarvis, your number of the week, my friend.
My number of the week is $54.91. A site called WordStream trying to figure out the 20 most valuable AdWords on Google.
Oh, that's interesting.
And ran a whole bunch of words against it, and whatever the methodology is on their site. But they said the number one word is insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Followed by other illogical words like loans, mortgage, and so on. The top 20 is all they list. The bottom three don't speak well for America: rehab, treatment, and cord blood.
Cord blood?
At $27.80.
Gross.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is Nipplefoot in there anywhere?
It will be now because of the power of Leo.
Yeah. No, I'm instructing your guys to write an SEO bait Nipplefoot headline right now.
You better not. I'm counting on you.
Leo, I bet you can get nipplefoot.co.
It's available.
The other thing I wanted to mention real quick is I saw that, number one, somebody told me in Twitter that there's a GIF stopper for Chrome Plus, for Google Plus. And number two, I just saw, right before we went on, Harvey Levin from TMZ is on here, and he's already saying, wow, people are following me like crazy. So everybody, go find Harvey Levin and shock him with how much, bring him the power of Leo, and say you're there because Leo sent you.
Is he worth following?
I think he'll have lots of interesting gossip and stuff, and I just proposed him as the new CEO of News Corp.
Wow.
Nice.
It's Levin if you want to follow the right one.
TMZ for all of you, yeah.
Yeah. I'm a lawyer. He looks like a lawyer.
Yeah.
Actually, this is good. I'm going to add him. Let's see. I have some circles. Celebs, companies, creators, designers, entrepreneurs.
Oh, hey, we're seeing Leo's circles.
Yeah, funny, Googlers, hams, journalists.
Mine, your
I
circle.
meant to tell you, Ed, I had a reporter call me this week from a media outlet to be unnamed who said his whole thesis and his boss's whole thesis was that, well, Facebook is about friendship because you friend people there, and all you are on Google Plus is acquaintances because that's what they say. I said, no, you dip. It's just a word.
I'm a follower.
It was still the lead of the story.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Reporters.
Nilay, anything you want to plug? TheVerge.com. What is... Yes.
You know, go to The Verge, sign up for our archaic email alerts. Maybe I'll send you a sponsored message on Google Plus. And yeah, this is my next. We're still going to be doing it for until we launch. So the Mac Mini review will be up this week. The MacBook Air review will be up this week.
I'm sad because I actually love This Is My Next. I read it all the time now. But I'm sure The Verge will just be this plus.
It will be, yes. We're actually just going to call it "This is my next plus," and that'll be good. It will be. I'm excited. I have to say, working with this team, we have a lot of ideas about what to do, how to make our project bigger and better, and when you work in a site like Engadget for a long time, you only dream about what you could do with additional tools and technology. And hey, we're doing it. So, you were talking about TMZ. Jim Bankoff, our CEO at SB Nation, he started TMZ with Harvey at AOL. I mean,
really?
he knows how to build big things, and I'm excited. It's exciting to work with him and build this thing that we're doing.
Can we follow you on Google Plus? Is that okay?
Yes, I will start to post on Google Plus if you guys follow me. I've been very lax about it.
Well, there's no way to make money on it.
Yeah, how do I
monetize it?
But you can make gifts.
This Diet Coke is so delicious.
But did Sony pay you for that? I'm going to wrap this thing up because we've gone long enough. Thank you all for being here. This was our last broadcast from the TWiT Cottage. I do invite you all to take a look at the new place online at we've got a little live cam up there, bit.ly/dropcam. And if you haven't yet purchased a brick, you could sure help us out. We've sold over 1,000 of them. We're really glad to say we're going to have a wall of honor as you come in. You'll see your brick up there along with a lot of other great bricks. If you go to bricks.twit.tv, you can become a part of the TWiT Brick House
I'm telling
Studios.
you, somebody buy Nipplefoot. It will haunt Leo forever.
that would really be funny if every day as I go to work, because I have to walk by that wall every day, and my eye's going to go straight to that. Straight to that. So, we will be over there Sunday night. Sunday afternoon, actually, 3 p.m. is our first show. And then this week in Google will be, as always, Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, live.twit.tv. You don't have to go anywhere else, but we will be in the new facility and looking great, I think. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time on This Week in Google.